Hey, welcome to Studio Sunday. So it's been a busy week. Last week I talked about my favorite comics that I keep in a box underneath the bookshelf over here. And yesterday I got my new favorite box of comics. Trigger warning. This is the retail version that people have been asking for. People were saying, this was the Kickstarter version and it never went to retail stores. And people were saying, well, I missed it or whatever. Is it going to be in stores? Yeah, same story inside, different cover. Strangers in Paradise in the 19th century, Old West. And it's a very fun story. So I had a lot of fun doing it. And I did have to brush up on how to draw a horse. But yeah. And it has a really sweet ending. So, okay, Kickstarter version, retail version. It's on its way to the stores. How much is it? It looks like to me on the UPC code, it's 11 cents. So, such a deal. Also, new printing. This book has been out of print a long time and it's back in print. The Rachel Rising hardcover. And we have some at the warehouse, so you can go onto our website, order this book. So, yeah, Rachel Rising hardcover. Some people want this. It's a very heavy book. If you throw it at a squirrel on the fence, it's going to knock him into the next kingdom. So, be careful with it. So, yeah, good. It was a good week for books. Okay, speaking of books, you know that I'm doing my Kickstarter right now for the How to Draw book 2026. The previous book is long out of print. This was 160 pages, and the new one is going to be very close to 200 pages. So I've added a lot of material to this book and updated it, both in the art and in the text, the copy text. In this old one, it's so old that some of our favorite artists were still alive, and I refer to them like, George Perez uses a Hunt 102 pen. Well, I had to change that. George is no longer with him, and I miss him. Darwin Cook with his brush, things like that. So after, the years have passed by, and I had to update this book. I want it back on my shelf, so the new version is very key. And I was wondering if you make comics or you want to make comics and you're wondering how I get from this computer to the printer. And that means that everything that was done inside this book was images that I drew and scanned on the drawing board, and then I scanned them into the computer. And then I'd use a layout program to put the pages together. And, explaining how that process works would take, you would have to sit with me for weeks and weeks here. There's a lot to talk about, but maybe we could do an overview, just an overview in like 20 minutes about how I assemble a book on Adobe Photoshop and InDesign, do the layout on InDesign. I can turn you onto the screen, put the screen up and let you see my files and let you see the book that I'm building and how I'm building it. And I can point out what some of the, not all of them, but what some of the changes are. If you're interested in that, let's do it. If you'll look here, you'll see the How to Draw folder. This is the files inside of it. The How to Draw book up there up top, that is actually, and I'm using, of course, in Adobe InDesign. You do have to subscribe to be using Adobe programs right now, and I'm not a fan of subscription apps, but Photoshop and InDesign are crucial. So yeah, that's $29 a month that I have to spend. Okay, in the middle of the screen, you'll see the How to Draw book chapters, starting with the intro, then the first chapter, second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on. And the new chapters that I've added here, I had a comic page template and tips, but I've expanded it, and now it includes layout and lettering, inking, I had scanning and print ready files in the previous one, but I've updated it. And there is, you know what's not in here yet that's going to be in here? Yeah, I don't see it anywhere. Okay, let's go get it. Art Nouveau. So here's the folder with all the InDesign files. These are the source materials that I'm using, some of them. The art, the book plate is here. They're not popping up right now because InDesign thinks I'm wanting to open them. But yeah, let's go look at that folder real quick. Here's the folder itself. Art Nouveau is the new chapter and inking is the new chapter. Both of them are pretty extensive. The book plate is here. Might be better to see it like this. And I decided to go with a Kachu. I was thinking at first, well, no, we did. Which one did we go with, Kachu or this one? We went with this one. Yeah, Kachu Nouveau. And then Fear of Death is the new comic that I'm making. That was the first cover that I made. Then I got the real art and sent it off to Steve Hammaker and he colored it. So there's the cover to the new comic that I'll be doing. And let's see, the How to Draw 2021, I have it here for reference. It was all the old book files. And then the covers, where you can see the soft cover, the hard cover, and the special edition hardcover that'll only be on a Kickstarter cover. These two, the soft cover and the hard cover, will end up in retail, just like my other stuff. But this one will only be a Kickstarter book. And let's see, that's the 3 covers. The Kickstarter images are the things that I've used to build the Kickstarter page. Kickstarter page is strange. It wants very tiny pictures. So these pictures are only 232 pixels high by 340 something wide. That's tiny, guys. So yeah, and then there they are. If we went to the Build It page, you would see that there is a list of items. You get a page for doing items, and then you add the pictures and the text in there. And then when you build the Kickstarter preview page, it pulls from those items and those images. So every image had to be hand-sized, handmade, you know. The pins, there's a Kachu pin. There it is. That's the tiny version. Yeah. And then there is the Rachel pin. And we're going to leave the Rachel pin in black and white like that because I think it looks like a 1940s Universal horror movie. Okay, so if I open up Art Nouveau, here's the chapter. Move the book up a side. Here's the chapter on Art Nouveau. And you can see over here on this side, it's a lot of pages. And I talk about what the concept, the designs, and the line work, and all that. So yeah. Now what I want to do is add it up in here to the book. And where was I going to put that? Okay, there's the chapters in order of how I want them. So it starts with the introduction. Let's move this over here, move this over here, put this right here so I can see this. Okay, this list right here is the actual sequencing for the sections into a book. So the intro is first, it takes up pages 1 through 5. The next is women, and the next is beautiful, and then next should be Art Nouveau. So what I will do is add Art Nouveau like this, and then move it after beautiful. Okay, there we go. Okay, now, I'm going to have to change the page numbering to match. Automatic page numbering. That's the key. If you start the page at any number you want, but if you want it to be in sequence in the list, It's automatic page numbering. Let's see if it'll do it. Yeah, there we go. So now you see that I have the chapters in order, body language, expressions, funny, timing, comic page templates, layout and lettering, inking, scanning, closing, and we've reached 204 pages, just like we thought. Here's a trick. The book needs to be in sections of 8. So nope, we need to get more pages. So 8 times 26 is what? 208. I need to have 208 pages. I feel like I'm in 3rd grade. Okay, we need 4 more pages. And I think that's going to be easy to do because I have a ton of art that I can pick from and add them to the sections. So 208 pages is where we will end up. The way that these pages are made is you go into the document setup, and I wrote down my numbers that I wanted. This book is actually, the old book is actually the size of a comic ratio, which is like 10.188 by 6.438, something like that. And then you add the 1/4 inch around and you come up with a different number. Anyway, that's the comic book ratio. I wanted the new book to have more of a gap in here, more space in here, so that the text doesn't dive into the gutter, right? So I added a 1/2 inch extra on either side so that the text can be out here in the clear when the book is open. Yeah. So this book is wider. The width is not 6.188, it's 6 1/4, it's 7. And on the inside margin, which is, the margin is this area, the gutter between the black line and the purple line right there. That's the margin. The black to the red is the bleed. So, and on the inside, what I've done is widen the margin from there to there. It's 1 inch. And it's the same over here too. If I move this picture, you can see the margin. 1 inch, 1 inch. So every time I've dropped in a picture and I wanted to line it up, this one's a little wider. Maybe I shouldn't have picked a wide one to show you, but here, this one is between the margins. The margin on the outside, the margin on the inside. Margin on the outside, I think, is probably, what was it? 0.625. So that's 0.625, 0.625, 0.625, 1 inch. And that gives us a more clear target area on the page when the book is open in the middle. Yeah, and that's it. And that was the document setup. So once I get to the document setup, then you might wonder, how did all those page numbers get down there? Did you have to put them in by hand? No. What you do is when you've got your page layout here, you go into your master and you put that automatic page numbering down here in the master page. So every time I add new pages or insert new pages, it comes out with this same guidelines, same ratios, and these there's an auto program down there. That's what that A means, and you can insert the special numbering right there. Okay. So going back to the actual document, when I want to get a picture in the document, all these pictures, I go searching through my computer, and some of them, when I go searching through the computer, I may decide that I want to put them all together in a folder so that they'll be easier to find. So when I'm over here in my art source folder, these are the pictures that I've been using from the book. And these are the pictures, for instance, that I used for the inking section, where I had gone in and made special illustrations and photos and then the pinpoints. And these are all things that are in the book and I'm talking about. It was the same down here for women. I was pulling from art that I have on my computer. Yeah. And then when I wanted to add something like this, you have two ways of adding it to the book. You can either look through your list here and then add it. Let's go with this little jet girl. You can pull it right over here to the INDD, and you see that it will drop wherever I want it to drop there. And the only thing about doing that is you need to know that when it's time to print, all these pictures need to be embedded. So if you go up here to the link section of your menus, Jet Girl, you will notice is not embedded. You need to embed the link. To do that, you would click embed, and that little symbol means you have it, which means that this InDesign file by itself is print ready with the images actually in there. They're not preview images, it's the real file. So these InDesign files that have all embedded pictures become big big files. If an InDesign picture file has no pictures embedded, it's going to be a very small file, because Jet Girl would just be a preview of a file that exists somewhere else, not in InDesign. So to be print ready, you must either embed all these images or have include all the images in a folder that goes with the document. And you can do that, but it will simply tick off your printer because you gave them extra work, to deal with that and get all these files embedded. To be fail-safe, embed your own files. Okay, so I don't really want Jet Girl on here. I'm going to delete her, and she disappear off the list. You'll notice that the Kachoo job picture right here is embedded. The Francine and Kachoo sun picture, that's the moon. Where's the sun? It's on page 32. Oh, it's way down here. There. This one is not embedded yet. So I will be going through and embedding all of these. Yeah, that'll be one of my final steps. The reason why I point that out is because if you're just going around on your computer finding pictures in the middle of your messy files, later on when you want to go embed them, you're going to need to, the computer's going to need to find those files again. So if you're just dropping them in, I don't know if the computer will know where they came from. If you're pulling them in through the app itself, and by that you just go Command D, and it will say, what do you want? And I say, oh, I want Francine Finland, right there. And now the app knows where you got it. And when it's time to embed it, you can. There, she's embedded and she's print ready. We're going to use her elsewhere. So that is how I go and make all the files. The text of the book is, let's zoom in. There's a little design motif I'm using here for all the chapters. Every chapter has this chapter heading up here on the right in a gray box. And then if we look at the properties, the text that I'm using is Gild Sans Light. And it's the same text that I've used last time. It looks a little too light on the screen, but when it's in the book, it works. It's not overpowering, it's not too bold, it's not too strong. And I wanted everything to be easily readable. I don't want any fancy type stuff going on. I just want it to be straightforward block lettering. So yeah, it looks a little weak on the screen, but it works in the book. So yeah, I go in and I do my thing. I just say what I have to say, and there's a bunch of it in the book. Everything, and this is the least instructional chapter there is. Let's get one that really dives in. That would be, well, let's look at scanning and print ready files. So yeah, here's where I'm talking about how I did my layout, and I did the briefest summary in there. You're finding out, I'll still say more than I do to you, because in here I can give the numbers and the math. And you'll notice on, say for instance, the Photoshop file, I show you how to go in there and scan it, how to get a scan that is level. That's a big deal because none of your pages are level on the edges. So how do you get a scan of your art so that when it goes into Photoshop, if you pulled a line marker down, it would be level instead of you having to adjust it. I'll show you how to do that with your scanner and how to scan it, my numbers there, my settings for the comic book, the actual ratios, the actual measurements, and the bleeds, and how to work with that. Then I show you also how I went from, if you'll see here, the original art is got empty spaces in the black because I was working on deadline, so I'm going fast. And then it's easier to just drop the blacks in Photoshop here, do things, the tricks like invert the talk balloon for the demon. But then later on, when I want to sell the page, I go back in here and finish it by hand, so the page actually looks like that. I try to make it look like that before I leave the studio. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I have whole book done. I am going in right now and just updating the art. If we look at something like Beautiful, I've added new art. Symmetry. People are always going for symmetry, and when you actually get it, it looks wrong. This conversation about the fee ratio is weird. If you get into studying design and the fee ratios found in nature, it's a nice little rabbit hole. And I actually blocked up at one time. I was using a page template to make my new pages that actually had where the fee marks were for the width and the height. Just because if you put something there, it's the eye expects to see something there, and it's nice to see it. It's the same reason that I have something red up in the top left corner up there. Have something red in the top left corner of your room when you walk in. It's feng shui. The eye scans the room. If there's something top red up there, I don't know, it's just pleasing. So the same thing with your layouts and all that. You need to know stuff like that. It's not just freaking guesswork, just throw shit all over the paper. If you want to kind of affect people's mentally and say whether they like it on site or don't like it on site, you have a lot of control over that. And it's more than just how you drew a person or a tank, you know. So yeah, there's a lot. There's a rabbit hole you can dive down, and I talked about it a little bit in the book. All the way from first lines here to why would you start with the side of a pencil and start with loose flowing lines and then work your way into tight, as opposed to like don't start anal trying to draw the perfect eye and then trying to draw the other perfect eye. That's the road to madness. How the body moves, yeah, balance, and yeah, I just talk about everything that I think about when I'm drawing. I put in the How to Draw book, and that's how we end up with this. The chapters: the women, beautiful, Art Nouveau, body language, expressions. Oh God, that's a big chapter. How to draw funny. This is one of my favorite topics, and it can be, college humor, high school humor, or it can be the funny scene that needs to play out. You don't understand a word they're saying. They're aliens with a foreign language, but you can understand that. We all know what's going on right there. These guys just crash landed and he thinks it's his fault. So yeah, it makes me laugh just to even look at it. The most important thing I learned about funny came from Charles Schulz, and he said that winning isn't funny. There's nothing funny about a winner. Superman is not funny. That's why. So that's why Freddie Femer was a source of great aggravation in my story. But when you look at him as a kid and his emotions are big and on his sleeve, you can kind of see the giggles in it, about how he's trying to head slam life into what he wants it to be. And then sometimes funny is just subtle. from this cartoon here. Yeah. And then how to do it all in one big crazy movie scene. That like the last scene of a comedy movie. Yeah, sight gags. And you don't have to draw fancy. This whole thing right here is an entire novel in one page. The fight over red or blue. So yeah, okay. Well, this could go on. I mean, it's 200 pages, 200 plus pages now. But yeah, that's how I do it. And then when it's time to make this for the printer, I take the entire book, select all the files, and then I can either pre-flight the book, which it goes through and checks everything. I can package the book for print, which means it collates all the files, the embedded files, pulls them into a big folder. Or I can just export the book to PDF, or export the book to e-publishing. What I'm going to do when the time comes is export it to a PDF, and I have the print setting there. Here you go. And now I will set it to my printer marquee settings. And all those settings in there were given to me by the printer about what to do with compression. Compression is your enemy when it comes to print ready files. You do not compress anything. No. You see here I have do not downsample, do not downsample, do not downsample. Don't touch my files. Leave them alone. Because you could easily set this to bring every file down to 300 dpi. And then you wonder why your book isn't as crisp and clear as another book that's came out. Marks and bleed, yeah, we do all that. And then you hit export, and it will probably take about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and every one of these chapters will import into one big PDF file, and that's what you send off to the printer. They send you a PDF file back as a proof, and it's screen resolution for the web, 72 dpi, 144 dpi, something like that. You look through there and make sure you didn't do anything silly, which is, I did something silly on the new trigger warning. You see my page numbers on the trigger warning. Well, you know that I put those in there with Photoshop master page, the InDesign master page layout. Well, when I put the cover together, I used the same master layout and forgot to take the numbers off. So now on the inside of the the inside cover has page 2, page 1, page 2. Because this file is, there's page 1 and 4, and here's page 1 and 2 and 3 right there. So yeah, it's unique. That's what makes it a collector's item. I'm lucky I didn't leave the numbers on the outside. This is what happens when you get old, guys. Yeah, that's it. That's how I'm making the new book. As you can see, the book is done, and all I'm doing now is proofing it. And if I can exchange any image for a modern image, a newer art, because I just make it fresh. And I'm going through and checking everything that I wrote and make sure that it still applies, it's still accurate, and I don't refer to friends who have passed as, next time I see him, I will ask him about his pen points or his brushes. So yeah, updated, expanded, the best one I've ever done. I don't think I'll do another one. This is my last one for how to draw comics and things like that. So yeah, I'm going to be glad to have it. I'm going to hang on to it. So I hope this helps to see what you're buying. It's nice to go take a real look at say the car you're buying or the guitar you're buying, and then actually sit down and play it and check it out and analyze it, make you feel good about, okay, this is what I want. So there, I hope this helps, and you can see that this is something that you would like to have on your bookshelf. I can't wait to get it on my bookshelf. So yeah, it's very soon now. I'm just about done.